Hello and a very warm welcome to this special. We are looking ahead to a very important match that India will play against Afghanistan, previewing India versus Afghanistan, and it is crucial for India to win this match and the next two matches if they want to harbor any hopes of wanting to go through to the last four. On top of that, they'll also hope that Afghanistan beat New Zealand, and then at least there is a slight chance that India can go through to the semi-finals. The one important thing, though, in this match that India plays against Afghanistan is that a win here does not guarantee much, does not guarantee a place in the semi-finals, but a loss here. And I can say that there are a lot of things that will be asked of this Indian team, and this will be seen by far as the worst performance by an Indian team in the T20 World Cups. So a lot at stake in terms of reputation for this Indian team. I'm joined here by Nikhil Narayan in the studio. Also joining me is Vedam Jaishankar, a senior journalist, and we'll discuss all of this about what can India do to win this match and what are the larger questions around Indian cricket right now. Virat Kohli's captaincy. There are now reports coming in that right after this, if India do not get through to the semis, that Virat Kohli may be asked to resign from the ODI captaincy. Whether those reports are true, and if those are true, what is it in store for Indian cricket's future? Who is going to be the next Indian cricket team's captain for the T20Is and for the ODIs, if in case there is going to be a conversation around that. So a lot to discuss. Also, some of the questions that everybody has been asking about this team's performance in this World Cup so far. So it is a power-packed show. We have a lot to discuss. Let's get Nikhil straight away into this. Nikhil, let's begin with the match at hand for India. I know a couple of hours to go for India, but this is such a crucial match just because there is a reputation there that this Indian team needs to maintain, and they need to win that match to make that reputation the way it is.
I mean, losing this match is not an option, Meha. You've lost the first two matches against the two big teams in the group. You cannot lose this match. If you lose this match, there'll be turmoil at midnight tonight. Right. Kohli may just resign as captain tonight. Anything is possible. So right. India, please do not lose tonight. You will spoil our Diwali.
Yeah.
So
True. A lot at stake for this Indian team. Vedam, there are questions, of course. There are, questions about team selection. There are questions around team's lack of intent. There are questions about this team, whether it is, exhausted, fatigue because of the IPL that they've played. There are a lot of these questions. But for you, what has been that one standout thing that you think that was the biggest factor in this team's dismal performance in this World Cup?
Yeah, as I look back at these two matches, what really comes across is a terrible lack of intensity. I mean, I've never seen the Indian team in such low energy. The energy levels have been so low, and the intensity too has been. I mean, it's amazing. Somebody like Kohli prides himself on bringing a lot of pride and intensity into every single battle of his. But I can't see that happening. It simply is not happening, not just with Kohli, but right across the board. And that's what has got me really surprised. Haven't they been pepped up enough? Haven't they been, they really need to get their game up. And as I see it, I think it's a lot of fatigue. They were riding a lot on inertia and energy, but the minute things went wrong with them in the first match, I think everything just collapsed after that.
All of us have been talking about this, Vedam, and you're right about this lack of intent. You're right about this team just not looking like the team that you're used to seeing. I mean, this is the team that won you against all odds a series in Australia with a team that wasn't their, first choice attack. So you are actually looking at this team, and there are some inexplicable sort of vibe around this team that one can't put their finger on. Isn't that so, Nikhil? Because even with the bowlers, these are the same bowlers who are actually doing well in the IPL. And here, completely lackluster performance. Except Jasprit Bumrah, everybody else have not looked like they can take a wicket.
Absolutely. This performance, Meha, actually we've discussed this before, has been India's worst performance in a big ICC tournament since 2007, when we exited after the first round in the Caribbean. So 14 years, India has always made it to the semi-finals, finals. It's a given, India will make it. But this time around, we're on the brink of going out. So, and there is a lack of intent from the top order, batsmen, the bowlers, the same. Varun Chakravarti, the mystery spinner in the IPL, all the mystery has vanished now. You know, Ravindra Jadeja, the master restrictor, that is not happening in the middle overs. The intent of the top order batsman, you know, KL Rahul, the IPL run machine, where is he now? So, you know, a lot is going around. And I think we need to address this larger, you know, white elephant called the IPL. I think there is some interconnection with the scheduling of the IPL and the World T20. I think it's one of the major reasons for Team India's fatigue and this lack of energy on the field.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think anybody who says that this IPL hasn't taken a toll on these players would be lying. There is, of course, that pressure to perform well in the IPL. And then I think they just have a packed calendar from here on. 4 days after this World Cup, New Zealand come in. India play their first match against New Zealand on the 17th of November. The final of this World Cup is on the 14th of November. So you can see there is no turnaround time for this team. Of course, from what the reports are suggesting, there will be some players who will be rested for the New Zealand series, and that's much needed rest for some of these players. But Vedam, there's also this issue of Indian players struggling against spin, you know, which we're not used to seeing as Indian journalists who've covered cricket for some time now, because Indian players traditionally you see play spin very well, but I don't know what seems to be the reason here. Maybe it's the shorter format, maybe in their bid to play well against pace bowling, that you saw Indian batsmen struggle against good spin bowling in this tournament.
Neha, I lost you with the audio most of the time. So I think there's a very unstable connection. But I presume what you're really trying to tell me is that we have an excess of cricket going on. You're absolutely right, because right from now to maybe next July, there's a lot of cricket coming up, and we need players to be at the peak of their fitness and the peak of their intensity, because the players have been on the road now, right from May, when they had the World Test Championship final, and from then on they've been in the bubble and they've been playing continuous cricket and gone back to the bubble. I think it's very unhealthy to start with, but at the same time, I don't think we should expect this kind of intensity for about 6 months or 7 months. It's humanly impossible. So I think we need a bigger pool of players and a lot more people coming in and going out of the team quite often.
Well said, and I think that's something that they're also talking about, because Virat Kohli has been vocal about the difficulties that these players are facing, being in bubbles, crossing from one bio bubble to another. COVID hasn't made things easier for this for international players, if you say. But what about Afghanistan and India? Now, this is a crucial match for India, and the pressure is going to be on them, Nikhil. They cannot slip up here. And that's why I'm saying that Afghanistan is looking good. You talked about this in the preview show yesterday, where you said that, you know, Afghanistan have a very good record on these pitches, and then you will have Rashid Khan, Mohammad Nabi, Mujibur Rahman. How will India tackle them?
Yeah, this is not a match against a minnow. Afghanistan is no longer a minnow. It's not Scotland, Namibia, Ireland. Afghanistan is amongst the top 8 teams, at least in T20 cricket. Since 2018, Maya, they have the best win-loss ratio in the world. Of course, they play, you know, they don't play the bigger sides as much. But still, it says something to have the best win-loss ratio in the world. They have a stunning record in the UAE. They have won some 16 out of the 17 matches in the UAE. The only loss being against Pakistan in this tournament. And they ran Pakistan close also. So beating this Afghanistan team, it's not going to be easy. Those ferocious openers, a very, you know, experienced middle order. Mohammad Nabi is a fantastic captain, very shrewd, a very good low order cameo specialist, and those 2 fantastic world-class spinners, Mujibur Rahman and Rashid Khan. Those 8 overs, India can do a lot of damage on the Indian batting lineup.
In fact, let's listen into Hamid Hassan, Afghanistan's pace bowler, on the eve of this match. This is what he had to say.
Mashallah, Afghanistan is a very good side. If you see batting, bowling, fielding is much improved. We have one of the best spinners in the world, Nabi, Rashid, Mujib. And now it's a proper complete squad. If you see a top order, sometimes they click, sometimes they stuck. But the good sign is middle order is getting runs, especially Skipper and Gulbadi in the middle. But the good news is that we haven't get out all of the wickets so far. Just 5 or 6 batsmen get out, but we have long batting side until number 9, I think. So most of the batsmen they can hit. Even Rashid hadn't bat yet. So we have good opportunity against India. If we score good runs on the board, inshallah we can defeat them by bowling and fielding.
Undoubtedly, they have a good opportunity. But remember that this Indian team is not going to be complacent. This Indian team is not given up. And I have a feeling that they're going to come out all guns blazing. Shubhayan Chakravarti joins us from Abu Dhabi. In fact, Shubhayan, you were there at the team's training session. What was the body language telling you about the players? You know, there's a lot of questions that people are asking about the lack of intensity from this team. Did the training session suggest that? What was the intensity there? Can you give us a complete lowdown of it?
Neha, the internet is very patchy here, but I'll give a breakdown. I'll give a brief breakdown to what happened yesterday in the training section at the ICC Academy in Dubai. So Surya Kumar Yadav was back here. He did some extended fitness drills along with Nick Webb, Nitin Patel, and Soham Desai. He looked fit and then hit the nets. Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma were the first one to hit the nets. Although the main bowlers, the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami's, Ashwin, Varun Chakravarti, Rishabh Pant, they all gave a miss. That was an optional training session, so they missed the training session yesterday. But the likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ravindra Jadeja, they all had some good time at the nets, and these boys will be hurt. We all know that they are world-class players and they will be hurt. And today is the perfect opportunity to put that Dubai jinx to the bed and start afresh in Abu Dhabi.
So the one thing that I picked out of that, yes, the players are hurt, but one thing is that Ashwin was there in the training session going through the drills, but Ashwin can play a very key role here given the number of left-handers that Afghanistan have in their batting lineup. Ashwin just knows how to bowl to left-handers, got a lot of wickets of left-handers. That's one of the changes needed now because nothing seems to be working with India's bowling at the moment.
Absolutely, Meha. Ashwin should play and has to play this match. One reason, as you stated, his record against left-handers is amongst the best of all time. Also, Ashwin bamboozled the Afghanistan team in the one-off test recently against India. So also Ashwin hasn't been scarred by the 2 losses against Pakistan and New Zealand. You know, he's relatively fresh. The other bowlers who played those matches, you know, are feeling sort of the grief. So you need a fresh face, and Ashwin with his experience is needed against the Afghanistan opener especially, who interestingly are fantastic players of pace bowling, but do not have good numbers against spin.
Good point there, but what about India's batting? I tried to ask that to Vedam as well about India's problem against spin, but not just spin bowling, even the pace attack that they couldn't face, the likes of Shaheen Afridi, Trent Bolt. What seems to have gone wrong with the Indian batting? Listen into what the Indian batting coach, Vikram Rathore, had to say.
What happened in the past 2 games, I think, is that we were not really able to execute our plans the way we wanted to. And that has been our issue and not the preparation, I think. One of the factors is definitely the pitch. I think when we bat first on these surfaces, even though it doesn't look very uneven or any such thing, but there is variation in pace and bounce. So strike rotation is an issue. It's not only with our team. I think every team which has batted first, this has been an issue. Unfortunately, I agree with you. The big shots we were not able to execute well. So that will happen once in a while in a game. And I think unfortunately that happened with us in the last game. That nobody really could execute the big hits that they were trying to play. But as such, I think it's more to do with the surface that we've been playing on.
Okay, so blaming the surface, and surface is one thing that people are blaming at the moment because of the kind of the kind of results that we are seeing, how it's skewed in, or it's favoring the team that is batting second. Vedam, this is something that now seems to be the trend in this World Cup. Teams batting second just seems to get the better half of the surface, and you know, they tend to be the winners. How much of this can be put down to surface? I mean, how do you explain India getting bowled out for 110 runs in that match against New Zealand? Yes, the surface could be called two-pace, slow, sluggish, variation in pace and bounce, everything else that Vikram Rathore spoke about. But how does one explain this famed batting lineup that India has getting bundled out for 110?
I guess what happens is when you're batting first, especially in the night, the tendency is you're worried about the dew which happens later. So you try to make up for that and get those extra 10 or 20 runs. And you play against the grain of what you're supposed to really be playing. I think that's weighing very heavily on the minds of the Indian batsmen. Whether it's a question of changing the batting order against New Zealand or trying to take on Sain Afridi a little too early in the first match, I think the thing was the same. The mindset was the same. You're trying to get ahead of yourselves, and that's really not working. Maybe it would have been a level playing field if the match had started about 1.5 hours later or earlier. You know, if it had started later, the dew would have been a factor for both teams. If it started earlier, then the team bowling second would not really have had so much of dew to contend with. I think the ICC should have been smarter and done something about the timing. They haven't done that. So now what's happening is, especially in the second match, it's not so much of a problem in the first match. Especially in the second match, the team which actually is defending a target is at a great disadvantage. And that's telling again and again and again. And we know that T20 is a power game. And if you're not able to bring that power when you're batting first, especially on a slow, sluggish pitch, you're struggling. But what's happening is when the team is batting second, the pitch is getting quickened up because of the presence of dew and making stroke play that much easier. So strictly speaking, it's not a level playing field, and the rub of the green has been so bad as far as we are concerned. We have lost both the tosses. You might turn around and say that's a habit with Kohli, but that's the fact of the game.
It is, and it is an uncontrollable factor. The other thing being that India will always have a match scheduled in the prime time. I mean, this is the Indian team that we are talking about, so they will be playing all the matches later in the day. None of the Indians haven't got a single match in the first half of the day. So yes, there are going to be those conversations also. That also brings us to the question that Nikhil and I have been discussing about this being completely one-sided, and whether this is okay in a World Cup to have a particular team get that kind of advantage. Yes, I know toss is uncontrollable, dew is uncontrollable, but what can we do to make this more even, more balanced? That's another question that one needs to discuss. But what does Vikram Rathore have to say about Indian batsmen getting out to those big shots? Remember, all of us were talking about it, Indians giving New Zealand catching practice, but the difference there was that Vikram Rathore believes that that was just to, you know, the run rate was slow, they wanted to up the ante, and of course they didn't execute the plans. But listen into what that explanation was.
We need to win first before we get into the run rate part of the equation. About your first question, it's not about me getting disappointed. I think the players were disappointed the way the game went. But as I said earlier, this surface, it's difficult to rotate strike because the pace and bounce is slightly variable. And it's not. I'm not again saying it's not only our team. I think every team which has batted first on these surfaces have struggled to do that. So again, but if you want to be a champion team, if you want to be a team which wins World Cup, you should be able to deal with situations. You should be able to play in these conditions as well. So that's what I think our focus is from now onwards. We need to still find ways to score runs and rotate strike against spinners. And every batter will have a different way of doing that. So they need to find their own strengths and back those strengths.
Right, Shubhayan, what is the buzz like now? India, as we've been saying, a crucial match for them to win. They cannot lose from here. For this team to have any hopes of making it through to the last four, and then of course hope and do all kinds of havan and pujas just so that Afghanistan beat New Zealand by a slender margin, because we don't even want Afghanistan to get a better run rate. So there's a lot of those things at play. But the buzz around this match, the fans, the stadium, is it sold out? Are the fans still flocking and supporting the Indian team? What's that like?
Neha, I'm standing right outside this Sheikh Zayed Stadium in Abu Dhabi. It's located at the outskirts of the city. So I guess fans will start to flock in as the game comes closer. Right now, I saw a couple of few Afghan fans that were present outside the ticket center. They are still looking for tickets, but I have confirmed that it's a sellout already. All the tickets have been sold. So we are going to witness some more blue fans, and mind you, Afghan fans are passionate as well. So they are also going to come in numbers and back their teams. We saw in the match against Pakistan how Afghan fans created a ruckus outside the Dubai stadium. But this time the security is very, very tight in Abu Dhabi, and they are making sure that that incident is not repeated again. But May I would like to come on that Vikram Rathod thing where he said that it's tough to rotate strike. I don't buy that argument, because I was there at the match, and Ravindra Jadeja, there was deep square leg, there was deep mid wicket, and there was deep long on. If you are telling me that he can't just poke the ball around and take singles, I don't buy that argument. So I think applicability is they need to be held accountable, and I am pretty sure today we are going to see a different approach from this team.
And I'm sure, and maybe the change of venue can change India's fortune as well. This is being played in Abu Dhabi. All the other matches that India have played that have been in Dubai. But it is true, though, Vedam, this whole I know that it is important how the surface behaves, and if the one team gets an undue advantage because of that, it's understandable. But we're talking about this Indian team. Are you telling me that 54 dot balls in the last New Zealand game that India played, that can be explained and can be blamed on the surface? 9 overs in a T20 match, you're not able to rotate a strike, take any runs off those 9 overs. Of course you don't deserve to win that match.
You're asking me?
Yes, Vedam, yes.
Yeah, see, that's what I meant. When you lost that first match, you lost a lot of intensity. Intensity just went out through the window. And there's no point in kidding about ourselves. We're actually now clutching at straws. That 50 dot balls that you mentioned, absolutely, they are like gold. A dot ball is gold in T20 cricket, because you really need to go hard at it. If you're not hitting a boundary or a six, you need to get those ones and twos. And 50 dot balls out of 20 overs, it's an incredibly high number. It's almost half the number of overs. And that's simply not done. And that's why I said that the loss of intensity has come in very heavy and very high, especially after that loss. It seemed like suddenly you've lost all your energy, all your strength, all your intensity. Everything just went down after that loss of the first match. And try what they did in the second game. It just didn't look like an Indian team that we know and cherish. Really, that we got to be honest about that. You mentioned earlier about Bumrah being about the only person who showed intensity. I agree with you 100%. And I think this team actually in the second match looked jaded. They didn't look jaded against Pakistan, but against Afghanistan, they looked jaded. And I think, I beg your pardon, against New Zealand, they looked jaded. It looked like they had lost the match even before the first 3 or 4 overs were gone. Yeah. And like somebody correctly said earlier, that there was fear in the eyes of the batsmen. And this is not what we have seen with the Indian team earlier. Cricket, T20 cricket, you need to go out and play fearlessly. But we didn't see that fearlessness in the eyes. There was sort of, the body language was all wrong, their eyes was all wrong. And that's a sad part of it, because even if you don't bring that kind of intensity into the game, there's no way you're getting over an opponent. You got to dominate the opponents in this form of game, and that simply was not happening.
Absolutely, and the format is such, and we see this team doing this day in and day out, but then for Virat Kohli to come out and say that we were hesitant, that we weren't brave enough, you don't expect that. There's one meme that has been going around that I know all of you must have seen, where Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri are in a picture, and they say this is what you do when, this is how you perform when you're in your notice period. And so that's a conversation for another day. Vedam, we're going to get you on that conversation about Virat Kohli's captaincy, and now there are reports that he might in fact be asked to resign from ODI captaincy. But we're completely out of time. I've been told from my producer, I've been told that I need to wrap up this show. So that's it on this special. Thank you so much, Vedam, for joining us. Shubhayan will get us all the updates from Abu Dhabi, and Nikhil Narayan, always great with numbers. That's it. From all of us, do join us at around 6:45 or probably slightly earlier as we preview this game. We'll also talk about how the buzz is outside the stadium. I'm sure fans would have come in by then. Shubhayan will join us then. For now, completely out of time. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.